Hi, in this video we're going to take a look at some of the team collaboration features in Postman. I'm on a Postman Pro team plan, but a lot of what we'll cover is available for free and is also helpful if you're not working on a team. I'll be sure to call out the differences as we go along. If you've ever worked with other people to build or test an API, you know that staying in sync and communicating to others about the behavior of your API is super important. I'm going to walk through what team collaboration looks like in Postman. So I work at Postman, and sometimes I work on internal APIs that other developers count on. Sometimes I use internal APIs that another team builds, but I'm not allowed to touch it. Sometimes I work on external APIs like the Postman API for Postman users to access their Postman data. And lastly, I use external APIs like microservices that help me do my job. For the demo, I'm going to be using the Postman standalone app for Mac OS X. I'm on version 6. Remember, I'm on a team account, but I'll point out the differences from the free version as we go along. Make sure you have a Postman account and you're logged in. Let's get started. So remember when I was talking about all the different APIs I get to work with? I use Postman for all of my APIs, testing them, documenting them, that kind of thing. In the Postman app, you can see that I'm in my personal workspace, like it says at the top. This is my everyday view of Postman. With most of these APIs, I have a separate Postman collection to group the API requests or define a specific workflow. The collections that I'm working on are in the sidebar here on the left. I can send and receive my requests over here on the right in this build mode. Since I work with so many collections, this view can get cluttered and gross. I've actually created a few more personal workspaces so that I can get organized. In addition to personal workspaces, Postman Pro and Enterprise users on a team plan can also share collections with their teammates. Under the Workspaces dropdown, if I switch over to the Team tab, I can see all the workspaces that I belong to, and all the ones that I can join. I can create a brand new workspace or manage all of my different workspaces. Most teams create separate workspaces by function, like a workspace for QA, technical writers, or DevOps. But you can see that for some teams it makes sense to create separate workspaces by product or microservice. You might decide to make one for a client or partners that you're working with. You can see these are the workspaces that I belong to, and here's the ones that I can join. Let's check out the mock service workspace. Mocks are a Postman feature, Postman the app, not Postman the people, and you can see all the collections that are part of that product. This view here is the familiar build view of the Postman app for when you're building your requests. Let's go to the very bottom and toggle over to the browse view. This is where I can browse all the stuff that's shared in a workspace, like collections, environments, monitors, and mocks. For Postman Pro and Enterprise users, you also have pre-built integrations. And lastly, there's an activity feed for the workspace. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Now say I've been working on a collection in one of my personal workspaces, and now I want my team to review it and maybe make some changes. You can share this collection from either the build or the browse view. Since we're already in browse, let's share this collection with another workspace called marketing. This is also how you would share a collection to a personal workspace too. Now when I go to that workspace, I can see the collection I shared is there. In this browse view, I can also update the edit and view permissions for the team or individual users. Click the ellipsis and modify permissions. When you share a collection with a team, for Postman Pro and Enterprise users, the default is that your team can view the collection. If you want to update the permissions so the team can edit, or only one person can edit, you can do that here and save your changes. And obviously, team and user level permissions are only for users on the team plans. If you wanted to share an environment with your team, you can do that here in the same way, from either this browse view or the build view. Be careful when you're sharing an environment. It's really convenient for replicating a server configuration or a user's credentials, but if you're plugging in your own secrets to a shared environment, those secrets will sync for the entire team. All right, let's switch gears for a bit and talk about source control and version control. A lot of teams will use Postman as the single source of truth for their APIs. Because updates to the collection are synced in real time, people know they're working off the latest version. For other devs, QA, PMs, they can see what's going on by interacting with the collection directly and testing it on their own. There's also an activity feed for every workspace, collection, and user. For the workspace, you can see the activity feed in the Browse view under the Activity tab. You can see who did something and when. For me, I can see my own activity feed in the Postman dashboard on the web, if I can't remember what I was doing last week. For the collection, I can go back to the Build view. Next to the collection name, click the chevron to expand the details, and then the Activity tab. For Postman Pro and Enterprise users, Postman will also generate a diff so you can see what change took place. And if someone made a mistake or you want to roll back the collection to a previous version, you can use the Restore link. For source control, Postman Pro and Enterprise users also have pre-built integrations. Back to the Browse view, select the Integrations tab and click through. You'll notice that we're now in a web browser looking at the Postman dashboard. These integrations are how you can hook up Postman to some of your favorite tools. For example, if your team uses GitHub for your source control, you can add an integration to sync a Postman collection to a GitHub repository. Once you set it up, every change that you save to your Postman collection will push a new commit to a directory within the GitHub repo. Most of the integrations are very straightforward and take a couple clicks to set up. If you're not a Pro or Enterprise user, you can still use the Postman API to build your own integration. With the Postman API, you have access to all your Postman data, collections, environments, mocks, and monitors. And that's it. We talked about syncing collections, environments, mocks, and monitors in Workspaces. You can also update, edit, and view permissions. We looked at the activity feeds for the Workspace, collection, and user to see diffs and restoring a collection to a previous point in time. And lastly, we talked about source control. A lot of teams use Postman as the single source of truth for their APIs, and if you have dev tools that you already use, Postman Pro and Enterprise users can take advantage of the integrations to make that a little bit smoother. So if you're still exporting JSON files and emailing collection links to your teammates, how about you try some of this out instead? If you like this video, check out some of our others.